Hi, welcome to Diablo 4 University. In this lesson, we'll be covering all things Lucky Hit. We'll cover how Lucky Hit work. I will also show you how to get more Lucky Hit, and also cover what to look for when selecting passives and skills. Hope you have your keyboard and notepad ready because class is in session. In Diablo 4, when looking at your skills, gear, and passive, you will notice a stat called Lucky Hit. The stat isn't inherently confusing because at its base, it seems very straightforward. For example, Lunging Strike has a 50% base Lucky Hit chance, which means, on average, every other usage of the skill will trigger a Lucky Hit. Pretty simple, right? Well, no, it's not, because we have to take into account the Lucky Hit chance of the modifier we're attempting to trigger, and that number can be significantly different. Pressure Point is a passive that makes core skills like Hammer of the Ancients have a Lucky Hit chance of 30% when you max out all 3 points to apply vulnerability. This means we would have to multiply the 40% from Hammer of the Ancients by the 30% from Pressure Point, resulting in a Lucky Hit proc value of 12%. This is not bad, but considering the attack speed of the skill, this wouldn't be a great combo as the chance to proc would be relatively low. Just to be clear, I want to look at another skill, which is Kick, and in this example, it has a 100% chance to proc Lucky Hit. What this means is the value you're attempting to trigger will be a 100% value of that number, not a 100% chance to proc the Lucky Hit effect. Using Pressure Point as an example, and assuming Kick is a core skill, even though it wouldn't work because it's not a core skill, it would have a 30% chance to apply vulnerability. Now I bet you're wondering why the hell would you use Lucky Hit with these poor values? Early on, Lucky Hit is fairly unreliable, but as you acquire aspects and even some classes with stats that give you Lucky Hit, for example the Precision Magic from the Sorceress passive tree, or the legendary aspect like Luckbringer aspect from the Barbarian, you eventually end up getting a fair amount of Lucky Hit chance. Finally, let's look at a final example. Hypothetically, if you were a sadist, you could use this absolute terrible passive in the Barbarian arsenal system called Two-Handed Mace Mastery. Unless worded incorrectly, you have a 10% Lucky Hit chance to deal 15% increased crit damage. Remember, this 10% is multiplied by the base value of whatever skill you're using. Plus they need to be stunned and vulnerable, and you have to be berserking on a Tuesday. Breaking character here a little bit, holy shit, this has got to be one of the most conditional passives I've ever seen in an ARPG for such a mediocre benefit. I have to know which intern at Blizzard designed this skill. Anyway, the point of this is to show you that you have to meet all of these conditions to be able to get the benefit. So be aware of what you're speccing into because they can be extremely conditional at times. As you can see, Lucky Hit chance at first glance is simple, but when you really look into it and understand how Lucky Hit works, you will see that it's not so simple and will require a good amount of investment before you get a solid benefit from it. Students who skip this lesson will very likely struggle with Lucky Hit and have a lot of wasted points early on. Now that concludes this lesson. Hopefully you learned a lot about Lucky Hit, and in the next class we'll be covering Fortify, so make sure you're ready to take notes. Alright, that's going to do it for this lesson. Just remember your last day of class is on June the 6th, but for those of you who are in a hurry to get into Sanctuary, you can take half the week off and start on the 2nd. Just remember, Server Slam starts on the 12th to give you a bit of real world practice before the launch. I'll be streaming on Twitch as well as YouTube for both Server Slam and the launch, so join me if you have any questions, and have a good day, students.